Hello viewers, welcome to another edition of your weekly State of Affairs program here on QTV. I'm your host, Aliou Cisse, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Modou Mbodj. Mr. Mbodj, good to have you on the program once again.
I'm glad to be here, Aliou.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mbodj. Well, viewers, last year in October, NAWEC applied for tariff revision of both water and electricity, which was approved by PURA after what it says was a lengthy review and consultation with all the relevant stakeholders. NAWEC says, the increment is necessary due to the increase in the cost of production, maintenance, and upgrading, and it feels it is necessary to review, the tariffs in order to be able to provide, the required services as far as NAWEC is concerned. However, some people believe the timing is wrong, considering, the frequent power cuts that they have experienced, and then because of that, people are not happy with the decision by NAWEC to actually increase the tariffs. And when we talk about the tariff increment here, we mean, for example, in terms of electricity, if you were paying like $10 is, you are now supposed to pay like $13 is for 0 to 300 kilowatt. In terms of water, if you were paying $5.50 bottles for 10 cubic meters of water, you are now required to pay $6 is a little bit above $6 is. And of course, if you are paying, for example, $12 for 12 to 25 cubic meters of water, you are now required to pay $14.15 dollars is. Well, joining us, this week to discuss the effects of this price increment and other issues is Mr. Basiru Njai, who is an economist with the Competition Department of the Gambia Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. Mr. Njai, good to have you on the State of Affairs program.
Good to have you. We are so happy and delighted to be here today. I guess we just say hello, hello, hello. One for the host, one for the competition department, and one for the Gambia, and
all our viewers.
Yes, all the viewers, yeah. So I guess it's very interesting. I think back in the day we were here with Mr. Juara and then Pura discussing the realities on the ground, considering the new tariffs increment. Okay. So I guess it was very, very, very tense discussion and lengthy, which Mr. Juara was here to defend, justify the necessary increment. So we're happy to be here to
wonderful.
discuss these things.
To start with, when you talk about GCCPC, I would like you to say with our viewers, what is the mandate of your commission?
Okay, so most of the time when I'm invited in forums to talk about GCCPC, I'm so happy because we use it as a form of advocacy, to communicate to people. Anyway, GCCPC is Gambia Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. And there are 3 mandates that give them the power to do the good job they're doing. One of them is the Competition Act 2007, which give them the mandate to promote competition and prevent anti-competitive acts. When we say anti-competitive act, there are a lot of them: collusive agreements, bid reading, monopoly, that is the abuse of dominance, and then we have the merger situation. There are a lot of other anti-competitive acts that do happen in markets. The other thing in addition that we do, it is the consumer protection, that is the Consumer Protection Act, which is 2015. It is we call it the Consumer Protection Amended Act 2015. It gives GCCPC the mandate to prevent unfair and misleading conducts in the market. That is what we do. So when we say also unfair and misleading conduct, there are lots of them. And then maybe I will just cite 2, which is very common as our experience. That is the failure to disclose material information to the consumer. Most of the time, these informations are very relevant in terms of making the decision whether to buy or not to buy. But most of the time in the markets, they don't disclose some of this relevant information. And the other thing is they sell you something, you buy something that does not fit the purpose while you purchase it. So that is exactly the consumer protection bit of it. And then we have a third act that also mandate us to be in the market, that is the Essential Commodity Act 2015. That act talked about GCCPC should collaborate with trade, jointly collaborate with trade to make sure that essential commodities are imported into the country, distributed into the country, and as well retailed at a very reasonable price, stable and availability.
It's good that you make us understand what your mandates are. Let's now look at the the tariff increment. I mean, how were you involved in this review process?
Yeah, I could remember the first day in my office, because I've started working with GCCPC in 2023 January.
Okay.
My first day in the office, that was the day we went for this review.
Okay.
So I just get to my office and my boss say we have to go to Pura to attend this meeting. So I think I could remember even, we had a very, tough discussion there, because the consumers, we represented the consumers, which some of them also were there to represent, you understand, the general, public. And then, it was like, we cannot afford it. It was like we cannot afford it. And then I think also the hotels also, they were there. Also, they were complaining about, the cost involved. But the reality is, since the process that we have been involved in these things, most of the time it is the cost push, that is the increment in the price of fossil oil, and then generally their cost of production of electricity. Most of the time, that is what they're saying. If what they are selling is below what the cost they incur in producing electricity, it's more than what we are paying. So therefore, for us, we have to choose between two: either to have electricity at this increased rate, or we have to switch the lamps.
Yes, let me just ask you this. You said that you represented in this discussion, you represented the consumers. Mm-hmm. Did you consult consumer groups?
Yeah, I think there was a consumer group. For us, we just from a competition point of from the commission, I can say, we were just there based on because most of the time consumers come to the office to make complaints.
But there are many consumer groups. When we go through the papers, we see many consumer groups. How do you liaise with them? What's your relationship with consumer groups?
Of course, we do liaise with consumer groups. Even in that meeting, the consumer groups were there to represent the consumers, because this consumer group, they have their own leaders, so they were there in the meeting. So I don't think it's going to be a reality of saying no, the consumer groups, we do not liaise with them prior to accepting or rejecting, but the consumers were also represented that day. I could remember even somebody seconded me when I was trying to analyze the economic impact it has. A guy from a consumer group second me, he said, I jointly agree with what Mr. Njai was saying, because then the inflation level was not even 13%, then it was 12 point something percent, and then I was saying the realities on the ground is not going to permit us. So we liaise with them, because many of the times when there are issues arising, certain complaints are from the consumer groups to the commission.
I wonder, just one more, Aliu. When you go to these discussions,
mm-hmm.
for instance with this one, with NAWEC and the tariff increase, what were the relevant factors as far as your organization, the commission, is concerned? Mm-hmm. What were the relevant factors for you that you had to consider in coming to a decision?
Yes, I guess that is a very interesting thing. The reality on the ground is many of the times we receive complaints from consumers. Whenever there is an unfair act played in the markets, or with any institution, for example, NAWEC or any of the GSM operators, they come to the commission. And then when they get to the commission, they lay the complaint. So based on this tract of information that we do gather, that is where we come from. The facts we have on the ground is what permits us to represent them. So the reality is, the things we factor is, I think this NAWEC increment, based on the realities on the ground, prices are very high. You understand? We factor prices, we factor the quality of what NAWEC produce. We also factor the reliability of the services, because I could remember back in the day in 2014 we did a study in the hotel sector, and most of the things that were mentioned by the hotel sector was, the cost of electricity. It was very expensive. So I think even when we were there, we made mention of that when they were there, and they also second that. They say, yes, I think that is the problem. I think following also the recent, volatility in the price of cement as well, also give us an insight, because most of the time when we go to Salam that produce, cement, the complaint they normally give, it's the cost of electricity. So I think these are factors that we already, because most of the time the complaints look like that. That is why I was trying to say it is the complaints that we gather along the way. It is what gives us an insight of the problem. So that was why we would just, it was very easy decision for just to want to raise hand and say we cannot afford it, because we already receive a lot of complaint about the quality of electricity, the reliability of electricity, and also the cost involved.
So your position was you were against the increase.
Yes.
But what can you do about it now that it has been effected? So your powers, where do they stop?
Yeah, but I think the reality on the ground is, you know, we don't regulate the electricity sector. It is regulated by PURA. So PURA regulates the sector. So we were just there to represent the consumers. So I think by saying we cannot afford it, that is where we could have stopped. I could remember even during that discussion, you know, PURA were saying, you know, we are not going to give them what they asked for, but we are going to balance it up. So, you know, that balancing up, it was like, what do we want? We want to scrap it off. Like, I could remember we were even saying, let the government subsidize, let the government subsidize. Let them, you know, that gap, that, you know, we pay a certain amount, but it is not enough to fill the gap of the cost they incur, because NAWEC is not a profit institution. So now, consumers pay, for example, a certain percentage, which is not enough to cover the cost. Now, we're saying, let government chip in and cover that cost. But they say government is constrained, you know, following the budget speed. You know, we know that the Gambia, it's constrained, you know, there's, you know, financing, you know, a fragile part of public finance, both in the short and the medium term. That is the reality on the ground. So now, you know, we pushed, and then I think it was very effective, because PURA do not give them what they asked for, they come short. I think, you know, we played an important role in, you know, making sure that the effect, you know, the increment, what they really wanted, because Mr. Juara, you know, the last time when we were here in the Sunugale program, he did say it. He said, we were not happy because, you know, what we wanted is not what was given to us.
I just want to bring you in here as an economist. I mean, you talk about the economic impact, starting the inflation. What do you think is what economic impact will this have?
I think the last time I made a kind of analysis to that, even on TV, I said it has a direct impact, because right now, for those that are purchasing this electricity for $35, they were having 3.4 kilowatts. Now they're having 2.6. So that is a massive reduction. That means if you wanted to use, if you used to use $35 to serve you the night, you know, you have to wake up 4 o'clock when your energy is finished. And then for those that are purchasing $55, that used to get 5.4 kilowatts, now you're getting 3.9. For those that used to have 9.9 kilowatts for the $100, now you're getting 7.2. That is the reality on the ground. And then I think, you know, analysis have shown that an average household in the Gambia per month consume 200 kilowatts. Now, if you multiply with the old tariff, $10.14, then $10.14 butut by the old tariff, you're going to have $2,028. Now with the new tariffs, you are getting if you multiply 200 kilowatts by $13.85, you are getting around $2,770, which is an increment of $724. That is the direct impact. What is the indirect impact? That's what we call the multiplying effect. You know, let me just give you this. If a commodity uses, if you know, there are commodities that use electricity and water intensively. They're the one that suffer most in this increment. Now, let's say this, the commodity is, the cost structure of a commodity indicates that the commodity uses 20% of its cost is electricity, for example, uses electricity. That's 20% of the cost of a commodity is electricity. Now it increased by 30%. The last time we do the math, and then we saw that it's going to be 20 by 30, that's going to be 6% increment. That's the multiplying effect. That is, any commodity that used intensively, I think I will even use this opportunity to comment one sector. One sector is going to be the most vulnerable sector. You know, since the Gambia has decided printing, we remember back in the day, during the election, there's a lot of people that venture into the business of printing. And those people are going to dance to this tune. Because we have young people who are not very strong. They go and buy their mock press, their plotters, their printers, and they're now in town operating. Now with this increment, it's going to be very difficult, because the cost of operation because, you know, the effects is both, I said, is direct, which is what you pay as a result of the increment, your electricity bill, your water bill. The indirect is any commodity you purchase is going to have an effect, because when they do their cost structure, they will see that the costs have increased as a result of the electricity and the water. That is two. But also in the side of competition, there is a great impact. That is, you know, the cost of operation have increased. What you used to incur to make sure that you run your business have increased. So in that, the problem it's people that are coming in, because in competition, there's always what we call free entry and free exit. When do companies feel the need to enter? It is when there is abnormal profit. They want to come and chop from the profit. And as they come, the profit reduces, and as the profit gets down to zero, they also exit. So that's it. So now if the operation cost is very expensive, they don't enter. Because it's very expensive. When you enter a business newly, we all know you're not making a profit. So you have to be there trying to struggle. So if the operating cost is very high, it's more risky for you to enter. So there is going to be no entry into the sector. So the printing sector is going to dance to the tune. I think they're one of the most vulnerable sector as long as this increment, because the plotters, they use a lot of electricity. The heat presses for the mucks, they use a lot of electricity, and the printing as well.
But don't you think also the consumers also are going to face the pain, because most of them will indirectly pay for these things?
Yeah, that is why I start from them. I say it has a direct effect on the consumer. It has an indirect effect. That's the multiplying effect on the same consumer. Like, for example, just to give you a simple scenario, for you, you are now going to add to your electricity consumption $724 approximately. And for all the commodities you consume, you're going to be adding 6% increment on their cost if they do their cost structure properly. That is the fish you buy, because they're going to the cost of storing the fish in the refrigerators would increase, so the price of fish is going to increase. Just to give you an example, in the health sector, the prices of services are going to be increased, because for the lighting, for all the machines they used to do the test uses electricity. So what they will charge you for consultancy fee or any other fee that they provide to the patient is going to increase. So there's going to be a lot of increment that is going to surround the consumer as a result of the new tariff increment. So, but that is from a consumer point of view.
That's absolutely true. There are all sorts of things. But for me, I'm really interested in absolutely you've laid bare, as it were, the consequences of this. Yes, but what role can the GCCPC play here to mitigate? What is it that you can do? For us, that is really very important.
Very interesting.
That's one thing to tell us what the issues are. Another thing to tell us what role you can play to mitigate as a commission.
Okay,
what
now
can you do here?
The technical reality here is this. There is going to be a cost pass-through to the consumer. We call it cost pass-through. For example, I bought this phone, $10,000, and then all of a sudden, I have to change the battery, and the battery have cost me, $500. So I add the cost to the phone and pass it to the consumer. The guy who bought the phone is going to the one who paid the $500. So we say there must not be 100% pass through to the consumer. That is the role we are going to play. We're going to make sure that, because let me tell you this.
Is it something that you can enforce, or are you merely making a recommendation?
Okay, technically, I can say, because once this increment is made, we have a house, we come together and we say, look, the increment must not be passed to the consumer. So now we're going to mount what we call competitive pressure on the businesses to make sure that this increment that NAWEC have increased, you have to absorb. We are not going to tell them. Maybe this
so there's nothing to enforce. No, you're merely going to appeal to...
No, it's not an appeal. Let me tell you.
Pressure. You're just applying pressure.
No, wait. The competitive policy, it's of the view that competitive pressure is the only incentive that can make businesses to sell the best quality goods and services at the lowest possible price. That's the global technique. Because the reality is we are not going to control anything. We are not going to control prices. Controlling price is not the way. So what we are going to do is to mount that pressure. We're going to markets, and then we make sure that this, and let me tell you something. Even I could remember when this increment was increased, my boss told me this. We have to be careful, because I'm part of the team that goes to the market. He said, be careful. Let this businessman not use this opportunity to increase price. When they say, oh, there is increment of NAWEC charges, everybody say, okay, I'm going to increase. No, they should not use the opportunity. We are going to be there as watchdogs to make sure that they will not use the opportunity to make some exaggerative increment. And we make sure that multiplying effect that I'm saying, that is the 6%, if 36%, we make sure that 6% is not going to be fully passed to the consumer by mounting that competitive pressure.
That pressure, where has it worked? Let's look in the
okay.
Where has it worked?
I think it works in so many places.
Name one.
Let's look at the cement market. Let's look at the cement market. Back in the day, in 2 months' time, did you get to the market to ask for the cement price? No. It was around $420. Right now, $20. Right now, it's far cheap because of the pressure we have mounted.
Was it about that, or was it because of all the economic factors that contributed? Yeah, that was really the reason, rather than your pressure.
Okay, now, yeah, we can say that, because let me tell you this. That is why competition authorities need to be on the ground to communicate with people, because this price that you see on the market, for you, it's the price. For us, there are a lot of things embedded in the price. It reflects the demand and supply, it reflects the economic situation, as you say, but it reflects anti-competitive acts in the market, and also reflects the cost of importation, that is the CIF. So as you're seeing that price, there are a lot of things embedded. Now, our role as competition authority is to single out which of the 4 things that I have mentioned, the determinant of price, is as a result of the price increment. Now, when we went to the market for the cement investigations, I think 2 weeks before we get the information that the price was skyrocketing, we went and do a collection of prices, talking to the businessmen, and they give us a lot of good information. The market surveillance, we call it the comprehensive market surveillance. That is what helps us because a competition authority have variables that we use. We have variables that we use. We use the price to monitor. We use the market share to monitor. We use the demand substitutability to monitor. We use the barrier to entrance to the market to monitor. We also use the profitability to monitor. There are a lot of variables we use to monitor. That is why when we see an increment in price, we know exactly when we collect that's the process we go to the market. We do a kind of interview with businesses. Then when we get the data from them, we go and do a price tracking. So during this time of the cement market, I come back to that. What happened was we collected the price. The prices were, I think it was around 400 and something. We started even when it was far less. It was around 380. So all of a sudden it goes to 400, it goes to 410, it goes to 420. So I could remember the last day we went to the market, we could not see any Dangote, we could not see any Sokosim, we could not see any Salam, we could not see any Gasem. We could not, Tiger was not in the market. So there was only Sahil dominating in the whole market. You find it in Banjul, you find it in Jimpex, you find it in Turntable, you find it in Brikama. So that tells us there's a problem of competition, because there's only one, that is the problem of demand substitutability. The consumer would not have the opportunity to switch to another good if there is a price change.
I see, but with the cement, what did you do?
Now, that is what I'm saying. That is what I'm saying. Now, this is what was in the market. So that tells us that this is a competition issue. So we talk to the government. The report, it's on the table. If you want, you can say we make some recommendations to make sure that whatever is blocking Salam in production, whatever is the issue for Gasem to produce, whatever is the issue for Jawel Tiger to produce, they all, and then they based on our recommendation, the communication happens, and then you can see if you go to the market right now, you see so many brands of cement available. As a result, the price reduces. So that was our pressure. This is a reward.
But you haven't demonstrated really how much your contribution to this. You really haven't.
Yeah, that is what we do is we just mount competition pressure. That is what we do. And then
how do you measure the impact of your pressure?
Yeah, the issue is one reality that you have to know here is we are not controlling prices. So then I cannot give you a figurative value that, okay, this is the amount of, but what we can say is, okay, look at right now in the market. Look at right now in the market. If you go to the market, you find all essential commodities available at reasonable prices.
Expensive. Yes, a lot of people will tell you that that's expensive. We've been covering this news. We've been covering the news.
You're talking about reasonable prices. I'm just waiting to...
What is reasonable?
Exactly.
No, I'm not even reasonable in the form of reasonable. But reasonable because when you compare it to the neighboring countries, you see it's reasonable. Yesterday, I was with my brother on the phone. I say, can you have sugar in Senegal? He said, no. I am using the sugar vanne to brew my attire. In Senegal, they have a bigger economy, they have a greater demand, but they don't have sugar in the market. You know why? Because there's price control. So I guess, the pressure we are mounting is really working. Because when you need the sugar...
How do you assess that? How do you measure that? For me, this is really the issue. We've seen something happen. There's a phenomenon there. So what were the reasons for it? How much this this contributing factor contribute? How much did that contribute? How do we demarcate? How do we know really the effectiveness of the commission?
Pressure.
This is really what we are trying to establish here.
And I will just repeat what I said. If you go 2 months in the market, two months ago, if you go to the market, you cannot get cement for 380. You cannot get cement for 390. The cement was 400 and something. Because what we have seen was the price of Sahil even jumped from 345 when the exchange rate was, I could remember, 430. It jumped from, that's 315. It jumps to, when the exchange rate jumped from 430 to 450, it jumps to 325. The exchange rate jumped from 450 to 480, it jumps to 371. Exchange rate jump from 480 to 505, and it jumps. So we show that
at this moment, how much is a bag of cement? Allow me to learn. How much is a bag of cement at the moment?
At the moment,
yes,
it's going to be around 380, 390.
I can tell you, a bag of cement, as you speak, it's around. It's still 430, 420,
in
430.
which market is that?
In the market, obviously.
Which market is that? Can you give me
in the market, obviously, every day people go out to buy cement.
Yeah, but even it could, these things, they could even change a little. Some people are just there because, like I said, in the Gambia, there's no market control, there's no price control. We're not going to say, whoa, you're going to sell at this. But we are saying, if you're a reasonable consumer who is very sensitive to price, normally, or if you go, for example, if you want to buy cement, are you going to buy that 430 if you see people that are selling reasonably lower than that? Nobody's going to buy from them. So people are price sensitive. So what we just try to do is make sure that there is reasonable price in the market. And that reasonability.
We do not do price control, yet there is regulation in how you trade.
Sure.
It is in the regulation. What about regulation? Do we do regulation in such a way that they wouldn't create unfair terms? You are here to look out for the fairness, as it were, of relationships and the like. So this is the key. Let's take, for instance, another industry that's very important to everybody, bakery, bread. And the bakers, there is an impression that it seems as if they've got this monopoly. They form themselves into a cartel. Whenever they want, there will be shortage of bread. Whenever they, when they're okay, then we'll have that. What is it you've been able to do? We've seen it year in, year out for a very long time.
Yes, even the bread market, it has been investigated. And they are really in process. Most of the time, once we launch investigation, like I said the last time, you go to the market, you get the prices. So these prices are going to take you through to what happened. So now once we establish that we suspect, because like I said, we use a lot of variables to see exactly what is happening in the market. Some of the time is competition, some of the time is government regulation, some of the time it is because of the cost of the cost of production is expensive. But once we detect that it's anti-competitive, what we do, it's very simple. We launch an investigation and ascertain that. Once we ascertain that, now we're going to call the parties, and then we interrogate them. And then once we interrogate them and ascertain exactly that what we think or what our parameters have shown, it's exactly the case. Now we write recommendation to the High Commission. We have a Board of Commission, and then these guys would go to the Board of Commission. Like me, I'm a technician. I do the technical job, and then the Board of Commission does it. So if it cannot be solved at the Board of Commission, it is taken to court.
How frequent do you conduct these investigations?
As we are saying, there are a lot on the table. The digital market is on the table.
Give us a case where you have at least someone, a service provider, on things that you feel is not going right, and you were able to achieve something out of it.
Yeah. Yes. I think I think that it's because, like I said, I'm just 3 months old in the commission. So, but I know very well that they've been doing that, because the last time I have cited an example on TV, I said there was a product. I don't want to call name because that is still in process. As we are talking, that is still in process. A product price was increasing when the guy tied it to another product. When we do our investigation, we know that, because what happened was the price was increasing, and then we do the investigation, there was no any cost increment, so we have to investigate and know that it was price time. This guy brought a new product in country, and then tie, because that product needs time to penetrate the market, so he does not have that patience, so he tied with the product that has already established name in the country. So he was selling it to the businessman, and then when he's selling it to the businessman now is going, he would tell them that for you to get this product X, you have to purchase product Y. So he tied the two products. So those people also, that new product that Gambians don't know, they're not buying it, they're making loss in it, they agree that let us add the loss we are making in product X to product Y. That was why the price was skyrocketing.
Thank you very much.
So now once we detected that, we summoned the guy, and then, I think, it's on the table as we are talking. The reality is, what the law says. Once you write things, once you analyze and then make your findings about business X, you write your recommendations of your finding, you send it to the commission. These guys would go there and defend themselves.
Thank you very much.
And those commissioners are going to decide whether it's going to go to X, or it's going to go to Y, or it is going to be, sent to the court or whatever. So it is going to be who decides what. We are technicians, we are on the market, we do the surveillance, and then we make recommendations.
Thank you very much, Basir Njie. Well, viewers, you're reminded that you're watching State of Affairs here on QTV, the Gambia's first private TV station, and we're broadcasting from our studios here on Kairaba Avenue. My name is Aliou Cissé. We'll go for a short break, and when we return, discussion continues. Do stay tuned.
Espas Motors is the largest and most modern auto service in the Gambia. Espas Motors is the only authorized dealer in Chevy, Mercedes-Benz trucks, Mercedes-Benz buses, Kia, Ford, Futon Mini and Midi buses, Futon trucks. Espas Motors, we have qualified professionals who use modern technology to diagnose and repair all brands of motor vehicles. Espas Motors services include auto sales, auto repairs, vehicle painting, availability of high-quality spare parts, towing services. We are reachable at any time. Call Espas Motors on 352222 353-4444 or locate us on the Bertel Harding Highway. Espas Motors.
Welcome back, viewers, from that short break. You're watching QTV State of Affairs, your weekly flagship political program here on QTV. I am Aliou Cissé, and I'm here with my co-host, Mr. Modou Mbodj, and our guest this week is Mr. Basir Njie, an economist with the Competition Department of the Gambia Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. We're discussing, the recent increment in tariffs of water and electricity by NAWEC and other issues relating to the mandate of the commission. Mr. Njie, now that we have seen the tariff has been increased effective 10th April, how do you hold NAWEC accountable now to ensure we have uninterrupted services?
That is in the hands of PURA. PURA are the one regulating NAWEC, and they're the one that would be able to go toe-to-toe with them. Now that you are chopping a lot of money, you should be able to, make sure that you give them the quality, and then, it's reliable. Because the last time, as I said, I only have water for 2 hours. Now they're talking of increment. I'm talking of let me have my water, and bills are still coming. So the idea is, for us, what we do is anytime. I will recommend to PURA and NAWEC to make analysis after 3 or 6 months and see the impact this have. But we expect also quality to increase. And GCCPC, it's not the only regulator for consumers. Part of the regulation of consumers for utilities, it is in the hands of PURA. Even when we have complaints in that, we send it to PURA. That is why, but as an economist, I know, they have to do some assessment after a short period of time to see the impact. Because if you increase your tariffs, you are getting more money. People expect to see a more reliable service. People expect to see a more quality service. But I think the last time Mr. Juara dealt with that, give, a comprehensive speech on that, that when the new tariff comes and then they gather a lot of money, they'll be able to adjust on that.
Earlier on, you talked about the issue of price control. Could you just share with us, what is the difference between price control and regulation?
Regulation, like I said here, competition policy, it is just to mount competitive pressure on businesses so that they rival between them. The profit they are getting, the amount of sales they're making, the share in the market should only depend on the ability to provide quality goods and service at a at the best possible price, because we are all price sensitive. So now, when you come into price control, it's a different thing, because price control, you are saying, hey, you cannot sell more than this. You set a limit for them, or you say the price of let's say sugar is going to be 2,000. You peg it at a certain amount, and when you do that, these are the disadvantages that happen. That is, when you peg the price, young businesses who cannot survive that price would be kicked out of the market. And when these small businesses are kicked out of the market, you are giving advantage to the big ones. So these big ones now, in the short run, they will be selling at 2,000 until the small ones are out. And when the small ones are out now, they get the dominance in the market. And there you dance, everybody dance to their tune. That is why in the short run, okay, the last time I give a funny example, I just say it's like a dashboard. You're driving your car and then there's a signal that your oil is finished on the dashboard. Instead of going to repair it, you go to the electrician and you say, can you remove this signal on the dashboard? That is just what you are doing. If you were controlling price, you were just trying, because price is reflecting the reality in the market. It's one variable competition authorities use to know exactly the competition issue, the competition level in the market. So that is why we don't want the price to be, it's just like when you are sick, you go to the hospital. What happens? These guys, they know your sickness through the symptoms. So price is one of the symptoms. So we would not want that one of the symptoms, what is giving us an idea whether there's competition or not competition, for it to be controlled. Because if you control it, you're now pulling out one of the variables that we used to analyze.
But you see, Mr. Nyai, here I'm a bit worried about something. Our theories are one thing, but realities tend to be completely different.
Yeah.
And when we look at our market behavior, when we look at ourselves here, how we see things, one can understand all of that. But the very fact that I think about 80% or even more around that of our economy is all informal. There's no data, as it were. So theoretically, what you're saying is correct. But on the ground, what we see, there doesn't seem to be much consumer protection, because there are price hikes in every area, and it seems the Commission cannot do much about it.
Of course.
People are always complaining about
okay, now
it.
let me tell you the situation of the Gambia. Maybe you understand that.
All right.
Do you know that the Gambia, it has a very, how would I call it, a very vulnerable economy. The external shocks. I was talking to a friend the last time. I said, the impact of the COVID-19. He said, no, you have to stop telling us. I said, I saw him articles that have been written that say it has a long-lasting effect for low-income countries.
Not many people will deny that. We accept. Then let's move on. That's granted.
I'm just telling you.
One takes that for granted. We know that. We realize that.
Okay.
Absolutely.
Okay. Now,
and even the war, Ukraine, I was just waiting for that one. Russia-Ukraine war. We know that.
I'm not here to defend the reality on the ground. I am saying, why is it that we have a cheaper price than the neighboring countries? You put the blame on the competition department on that? No. Do you know that the Gambia competition department is one among the best competition authorities in whole of West Africa?
Aside from your brother that you spoke with, that you say is in Senegal and there's lack of sugar, have you done any study in other countries to be able to compare the Gambia and other countries? Because you are saying
we are selling better than Mauritania. We are selling better than Senegal in terms of sugar. I am telling, and they have a bigger economy, they have a bigger demand. The competition, I think, if you are a fair Gambian, okay, let me tell you, that same guy I was talking to, because he said, oh, what do your commission does? I say, what we do, he said, can you give me something that I can touch that, the commission is so functioning? I say, because you have available goods in the market. Because, many of the times.
Is that mainly because of you? Is that the main reason why?
Do you know that if it was not the competition department, the government would have introduced price control?
I'm just trying to stay here factually. What would you point to indicate that you are the main reason why this is so?
I'm not going to say that it is all solely on the commission.
I didn't say solely. I said mainly.
Okay. Now, the point here I want to highlight is we are the authorities that say don't control the prices.
But you cannot enforce anything. You call it pressure. So you're beginning to make the case that the commission is a pressure group.
Anybody could say that.
Well, that's what you've just made the
Anybody
case.
could say that. You know,
Okay.
You've just made the
yeah,
case.
Yes, I mean,
I agree. You can say, you know, it's a pressure group, but it's a lot more than that, because for all the concepts I have explained, for all the technicians that we have to regulate markets, regulate by not controlling, but to mount that competitive pressure, go to any competition department in the whole world. They only mount the pressure.
You said if not for the
To make sure
commission,
that the rivalry
Mr. Njai,
reflect the demand and supply, not anything else.
you said if not for the commission, the government will have introduced price control. What did you do?
Yeah, because many of the times we give advices. Let me tell you, this is how basically it works. We do surveys, we do price tracking, and we do data analysis. And if what the price reflect is not demand and supply, you know, the price can reflect 4 things. It can reflect demand and supply. The price can reflect the market situation. If it reflects the market situation, that is, maybe the government put a regulation or the government put a policy that is anti-competitive, we write to the government straight and say, uplift that. That is why it has been a battle between the commission and the government to say, don't think of price control. Because when the things jumble up in their hands, they say, okay, I think we should put a control. We say, no, that is not the way. It's a coward way. We used to call it. It's a coward way to control. And that's the credit, it's there. Because if they look at Senegal, you think Macky Sall is not good enough? You think he doesn't have economists who are not good enough? But still, they introduced the price control. The next day after the control, shops were closed. We don't want that to happen. And that is not happening because the commission is doing its job.
And
My
now,
brother is calling it a pressure group. What a pressure group?
Exactly.
Pressure group that is able to
Let's examine.
I'm really enjoying this conversation.
pressure group that is able to give him what he needs at the time he needs it.
Yes, you're claiming the credit. You're claiming the credit, certainly. But okay, let me just take you here. You did a study in 2012. Surely you were not there, but my question will come later. This one was on tourism. It said this: the Gambia as a tour operator-driven destination depends solely on tour operators, especially foreign-based ones, to bring tourists to the country, which gives immense power and control over the local accommodation providers, such as their forced exclusivity contracts and all the rest of it, and saying that outsiders really are having more control. In the light of this finding, the Commission should promptly bring to bear the power invested on it by the Act to ensure that the industry operates in a fair and competitive environment. You joined in 2023. What is the market like? Is it exactly the same?
Anyway, the tourism sector, I would say, we all know, I will say it, maybe you laughed about it, but I think the reality on the ground is a lot more than whether the Commission does what it's supposed to, what he should have done in 2014 or not. We all know that it is because of the reality on the ground. We are vulnerable to the shocks.
There's no denying that. It's just the claim. In the light of this, the commission should promptly. It said it. You know, nobody's put it in your mouth.
Yes.
The commission should promptly bring to bear the power invested on it by the Act to ensure that the industry operates in a fair and competitive environment. This was in 2012. How many years later? More than 10 years.
Sure.
Still, that's why I'm asking you. Now you're there. It's exactly the same picture.
Anyway, I think that document has been, like I said, for me, I've been there 2023, so
Granted.
I might not be able to. But one thing I know, it's they're fighting tooth and nail to make sure that that sector is stable. That is why when NAWEC want to bring this, I think I did the little analysis that day for them. I said, that is theoretical anyway, but we know that this increment is going to mount a lot of pressure in the number of tourists we receive in the Gambia, because of the use of the lighting. The lighting use a lot of electricity. The cooking in the hotel, all of this use a lot of electricity. So we are fighting tooth and nail to make sure that. Let me tell you this. I think we should all apple for the competition department commission. You know why?
Is this a self-congratulations?
No.
That's exactly what you're doing.
Yeah.
You're doing a self-congratulations.
Do you know why?
And that's what to do.
Do you know why? Because the fragility of the Gambian economy. We don't produce anything. We do produce anyway, but it is not enough to what we need, especially in the essential commodities. Any shock from the outside market, you learn economy, you know that. These shocks, they penetrate as long as, you're picking from the outside. Why during the COVID, they say stay at your home. If you get out, you pick the virus and bring it at home. So we are very vulnerable to the shocks happening out there. And let me tell you, who can swear to God that there won't be any pandemic coming? I'm not praying for that. Who will swear to God that there's no any conflict between countries? These things they keep coming. And as long as they're coming, they penetrate into the country because we don't have that self-resilience within.
Mr. Jai, I would like to come in here. I mean,
is that a plea of mitigation?
No. I want to come in, Mr. Jai, here. I mean, the issue of the price increment. I mean, this is something that have been here well before the COVID-19, well before the Russia-Ukraine war. What have you done?
But we have done studies on the essential.
So you cannot base everything on the economic shocks. I mean, COVID-19. I mean,
yeah, but
the issue of price increment has been here well before all this.
But the issue is, if you want to keep track of the reality, the Gambia is not a solo country. Look at the countries around it and match the prices. Prices are jumping in all other countries. So it is normal. It is normal if the prices are jumping in Sierra Leone or Senegal. Then it is normal in the Gambia. So we have no right to complain. I'm not justifying. Like I said, the price in the Gambia is even way better for certain products than Senegal and Mauritania. I'm not saying that. The point I am making is, if you are making this judgment, you have to be honest enough. If the Gambian prices were here, other countries' prices were here, then we can say, what is wrong with the competition commission? Why I know my mountain process in business? But that is exactly what we do. Right now, you go to the market. I could remember 2-3 weeks before the COVID, a day after the Ramadan, the day in the Ramadan, I went to the market and then I asked somebody, what is the price of egg? He said, 2,500.
That's the crate, right?
I asked, how much do you bought it? He said 3,000. I said, why are you selling? He said, yeah, when I was the time I bought it, the product was so many in the country. But now the product is, the time I bought it, there was a scarce of eggs. Right now, the supply increased, so I cannot sell it, at that more than the price I bought it. So you see, that is all because of, the pressure. They know as long as, there's competition in the market, you cannot sell, because none of them have the monopoly, none of them have the market side. Now let me put it here.
I'm sure government will have something to do with in this, because they will tell you, hey, look, it's about our fiscal and monetary policies that really stabilize things. But now the GCTPC is taking credit.
Now the issue is, you know that in other countries, they have monetary policies. The Gambia don't have better monetary policies than Senegal. The Gambia don't have better monetary policies than Mauritania. You say, you tell me that, the reality is...
That's an assumption, but you realize that's an assumption you're making there.
The reality is...
That's an assumption
why I use Senegal...
It's not a fact.
Do you know why...
But that's not a fact.
No, I'm saying...
As long as we understand each other.
Yeah, but who have a better economy? Who have a better economy without fiscal and monetary policy?
Okay, how would you judge? What's your judgment?
No, I'm putting it to you. I'm putting it to you. Who have a better economy? The reality here is, the reason why I use Senegal most of the time when I quote is because at the moment they have price controls in the market. And the impacts, they're dancing to the tune, and we are not dancing to the tune because we say no to price control. And you give the credit...
Bank the other day, for the past years, Senegal's economy has been growing by more than 6%, according to statistics.
Sure. And
so
as we are talking now, they don't have some of the commodities they need.
What does that mean, though? Because given the context, what does it mean, though? Is it a long term? Is it short term? What are the reasons for it? That in itself doesn't tell me anything unless you give me the context.
No, the context is what I'm giving you. The context is consumers are suffering. You need sugar. It is the time for the Christians, doing the ngalach and all those things in Senegal. They're complaining. Yesterday I was watching TV. They were saying, oh, there's no ngalach. We cannot donate to the Muslims because we don't have sugar. We cannot donate to the Muslims because we don't have that. You think it's not affecting them? What better economic policy can you put if consumers are suffering?
Let's now
talk about the consumer.
Exactly. Let's now.
That is exactly the sole purpose. Let me tell you.
So the shortage.
Let's now. No, I'm not saying that is exactly. I am saying the availability of the goods in the market is a reflection of a performing.
You've only mentioned one.
And that is all what matters.
So you can't say goods. You said one.
Yeah.
And you cannot demonstrate that because of the shortage, therefore the economy is doing badly.
I'm not associating it. That's why I'm not saying. When you quote that, I said, who have a better economy? The Gambia don't have better economy than this, and the consumers are suffering there, and the consumers are not suffering here. So
some consumers will tell you they're suffering because they cannot afford a lot of things that they could
afford.
Is the reality. So that is also the reality.
That is a reflection of the vulnerability of the economy because we don't have domestic production.
But still it happens. You're giving me the reasons for why it is happening. For us, our discussion was the fact that it is happening. The reason for it to happen is something else. Senegal
But you think one can go without the other?
Senegal will also tell you
You think one can go without the other?
This is the reality. This is the reality.
No, hear me out.
This is the reality.
I think we didn't allow each other so that our viewers would really, understand.
The point here is, do you think one can happen without the other? I am saying to you, I'm saying to you, the production, lack of production, domestic production in the Gambia is what exposes us to the externals, to the effect of the external shocks. So as a result, there must be price increment because the production cost, you are not producing it yourself. Right now, if I show you the price margins that exist between how much they get it to the Gambia port and how much they're selling it, you would be surprised. Do you know that the price of sugar to the Gambia port is almost $2,000? It gets to the hands of the supplier, and then to the hand they transport it to Serekunda. That's why if you go to Birkama, prices are more expensive. They transport it to Kostoro. They transport it to Birkama. So you tell me that it's because of ineffectiveness of a competition authority, is because the prices are high when it is at Banjul almost 2,100?
No, what one is saying.
That is the reality on the ground. You must be fair in this discussion.
Yeah, but what
as much as you want to point fingers to GCCPC, you must be very fair.
No, he's made a claim. He's made a claim. Let me just come here. One is not saying that. One is merely saying that circumstances are such that your effectiveness would be compromised because so much is really beyond you.
That is a point. If you
that
say
is
that,
precisely the point.
Exactly. I will access to that.
Mr. Yag, we're running out of time. Let's now look at the correlation between taxation and prices in terms of tax, especially when you get to the ports. Earlier on, you mentioned about getting goods from the ports, to Banjul, to Brikama. The relation between tax.
Yeah, normally, taxes have a lot to do with prices because you have to incur, you have to pay your taxes. You understand? That is that's why we say the CIF to Banjul. That is how much you have incurred. You have the price you have paid to get your goods to the Banjul. But most of the time, in most of the essential commodities, they are tax free. You understand? There's a lot of reduction in the tax. But the reality is that is why we always say the government should always involve GCCPC in all policies and tax engagements. Because most of the time you might reduce a tax expecting that it will have effect in the prices to some extent when it might not. You are just giving more money to the businessman. Because if you relieve tax of the sugar, you expect the sugar price to drop. It will not drop because that guy is already there's monopoly on the ground, so he's going to sell at any price that he wishes to sell. So that is why we are saying whatever tax relief, tax credit, tax exemption, or whatever it is the government intend to do, they have to collaborate with GCCPC. In that, the GCCPC will do calculated amount of reduction that is expected to be in that market or in that product.
So how open are you to receive complaints from consumers who might get reports of certain things that might be happening in the market that you are not aware of?
Yeah, I think most of the time we do have complaints. I think even the way these investigations arise is in two things. One, businesses will go directly and complain. Two, we go to the market and we analyze. We see a jump in price, then that is a NAPLAM. Or we see a reduction in price, that is a NAPLAM. Because most of the time people concentrate on the jump. Sometimes the reduction might tell you they're just reducing the price to kick somebody who just newly enter into the market. So that is what we do. People do come to complain. And when we receive the complaint, we invite the parties that are involved, ask them to bring evidence for us to justify that the complaint is genuine before we get into the investigations.
Is your office decentralized? Do you have an office in Basse?
That is a constraint that we have at the moment. We are only operating in Greater Banjul. So if you have a consumer issue in Farafenni, it's a problem.
So you've got tribunals, isn't it? Consumer production.
We have a tribunal at Kotu. Okay. But what I'm saying is the decentralization is a big challenge. but most of the time, when we have investigations to do, we do it all of the Gambia. We travel, but that is investigation. You want to investigate, you cannot just stop and degrade. Like for example, we have studies under the competition level in schools. So we have a team that will be traveling to Farafenni, interview parents there and students, go to Basse, go to whatever. But that investigation cover the whole country most of the time. But we don't have offices in Farafenni where they can lodge complaints, because it will be very expensive for somebody to travel from Farafenni to here for a competition authority to move from here to Farafenni and sort out that. That would be very difficult.
When I'm in Basse, how do I
exactly
it's a constraint.
make my complaint?
It's a constraint. We are definitely
you should have a hotline.
Do we have a helpline? Do we have a helpline?
Yeah, we have a helpline. They can always call.
What is it?
Wasn't it?
It's 54033.
54443.
33. Yeah.
54443.
Sorry, it's no 5400.
Okay.
5000.
Okay. All right. Okay.
500033.
All right.
That is the line that they can call it.
Is it
But
active?
definitely,
Is it active?
if you call, somebody will.
All right,
will-
because
How many called it last year, for instance? Do you know? Do you have the records?
They all have that record. They have the record of all the cases that get
Thank
into
you,
the
thank you
office,
so much.
and then they have the records of all the calls and complaints. we
Thank
receive.
you so much, Mr. Jai. It's been a quite interesting conversation.
It was very interesting. Anyway.
Mr. Jai, once more, thank you so much for coming on the State of Affairs program. And Mr. Mboch, thank you so much.
They call me the devil's advocate.
Well, viewers, we thought we bring an end to this week's edition of the State of Affairs program. I was your host, Ali Osise, with my co-host, Mr. Modou Mbodj, and our guest this week was Mr. Basiru Njai, an economist at the Competition Department of the Gambia Competition and Consumer Protection Commission. Do join us next week. Until then, bye-bye.